So, I would not be the soul tender if I did not say, if you want to be reminded that it is okay to be tender and it is okay to need people, then I think you should read My Friends because it's a great book, and art nor the world need more cynics. We need more friends and we need more art. That's my hot take. Hey y'all, welcome back. In case you're new here, I'm Datriana, aka the Soul Tender, and today I'm gonna make a case for why art needs friends and why I think you should read My Friends by Fredrik Backman. So I don't know, if you're online and you follow people who read, you might have come across this book because it's like super hyped, which usually makes me stay away from books, but I don't know. Somehow I came to learn a little bit about what it was about and learned that it was about a painting. And so I'm like, this is interesting. I've never really read any books about art, like not fiction books. And so I was like curious to get into that and just see what it was about. And so I got the book. I read on my Kindle, which I have here. You can see it's still the cover, even though I finished, but this is just for the vibes. And I definitely will read it again, but I'm going to give it a little time. Anyway, I was just excited to read it and to like get back into reading. I had read a couple books. I was like in a good group. So I'm like, yes, let's do it. And what I did not expect was to have the book be so resonant and like it felt like a mirror. Like I saw myself in it so much. I feel like I gained a greater sense of like self-awareness and like self-acceptance, just having someone else talk about art and being an artist in just such a poignant way. And it wasn't so like, it was profound, but not because it's like the language is super up here, but because it was just so relatable and real. And there wasn't any, like, it wasn't intellectualized. And I love that about it. So we're going to get into why I think you should be reading the book. It definitely hit some like personal notes for me as like an artist, but also as a friend of artists and just a friend in general. And then also a human just existing in communal collective spaces. So yeah, I highly recommend the book and I'm going to tell y'all why. So if this is your first video of mine, you might not know, but I'm on like the precipice of sort of a career shift. And so I had like a layoff at the early part of last year that sort of just like dripped down into the rest of my life. And I feel like I went through a long phase of like negative self-talk that kind of kept me from being able to just like potentially accept a new path or even acknowledge that I might have wanted to be a full-time artist. And so at that time, I was like in a creative fog, and I feel like the idea of being an artist felt more like a risk and less like a gift or something I could be excited about. And there's this quote in the book. Let me see. Yeah, so there's this quote in the book that's like, that's the worst thing about having a vivid imagination. It works in all directions. And that got me because it was like last year, my imagination was running wild. But again, it can go positive, and we're like having a bunch of ideas for like paintings and series and stories that we want to tell. But when it's doing the other thing, it's running wild with like what ifs and anxiety and worries and panics and like, babes, why you do me like that? Imagination, like girl. So yeah, that really stood out to me. And when I read it, I felt like it summed up last year for me. Like it was just a year of doubting myself, and my imagination felt like it was oscillating between like confidence in that I still painted and made a lot of things that I'm proud of. But then there were also seasons of just like, am I going to start something new? Do I want to like have a blank page or a blank canvas in front of me? And so I just kind of like went back and forth between those things. And so, yeah, the book really just moved me as an artist, sort of coming out of that season, and as a friend of artists and creatives, and just someone who's like sensitive. And I know that I have big feelings that are often incredibly overwhelming, and it made me feel less alone in that journey and experience. And so I really loved and appreciated that about it. And there are just like a few things about the book that stood out to me that I think I'll carry with me. Housekeeping, I won't be having any spoilers. I'll share like a few quotes that literally don't reveal anything about the plot, and are more so just about how the author's writing really got me. I also love the story. And there are just a few, actually not a few, there are a bunch other moments in the book where that happens, but I'm just going to share a few to convince you to read the book. All right, let's get into it. So I have been called sensitive probably my whole life. And so this one moment in the book, Backman writes, art is nothing for people with armor. You need a thin skin. But someone like that isn't only sensitive to beauty, but to everything. Let me tell you, he ate that. Because, like, art is really not a match for people who are trying to portray themselves. Okay, this is annoying. Art is really no match for people who are trying to, like, portray themselves as strong. Like, you don't have the right energy to receive what the art is trying to give. Like, okay, boomer. Like, that's not cool. That doesn't make you cool, in my opinion. And that really blew my mind. And, like, I might have fallen out of my seat when I read that, because the world is louder, the dysregulation is running the asylum, and the world, like, everything is just demanding more noise. How much can you stand out, and what are you willing to do in order to stand out? And that's not really my vibe. And so having the thin skin, being sensitive, that is a superpower. It just happens to be exhausting. Like, I'm tired. And so if I'm already tired, one, my art can't also be exhausting. So I think that kind of influences what I make and why I make it. But then also, my art isn't meant to be like yelling back into the abyss. It is actually like meant to be a pause, a quiet, a lightness. And so that can come from the process, and it could come from like the subject matter. And I think that's the great thing about art. Like, you get to decide. And so sometimes I'm in the mood to have it reflect the noise that's happening. And other times I'm like, oh no, this is my respite. And I'm chilling, and art, making art, painting, drawing, whatever, is what is keeping me from crashing out, actually. So yeah, that, I really loved that quote. And you know, if I'm already like exhausted mentally, physically, emotionally, I don't want my art to be like yelling back into the abyss. Like, it's not meant to be shouting. It's just meant to be a space that I can come and be myself and express myself. And it's really like, to the point of the author, it is literally like the things that are bubbling over out of me, like too much to contain. And it's why my work is so colorful and the people I paint are so expressive, because it's kind of like them bubbling over off the canvas as well. Like, that's what I want it to feel like. And at the same time, art isn't like, my art isn't just a reaction to like a loud world, but it is also the things that come to me when my imagination is actually on my side. And I have ideas that I can execute without anxiety or fear or imposter syndrome or any of that kind of getting in the way. And one thing that I love is like looking at it, art, from the perspective of like legacy and inheritance. And in the book, Backman says like, art is what we leave of ourselves and other people. And that really excites me as an artist, because it reminds me of the power of my craft and what I practice, and makes me realize that, like, one, people are out here saying their opinions all the time, everywhere. And if they get to do that, surely I should get to have my say in the matter. And so I feel like my art is me getting to have my say in the matter in a way that aligns with my spirit and my energy, and not just doing what everyone else is doing because that's what everyone's doing and I want to be seen too and all of that. And it's like, no, I just want to find my unique corner and space in the world, on the internet, etc., and exist there sustainably, happily, joyfully, etc. All the fullies, just full, okay? Yeah, and that kind of living feels like it is I feel like it's part of my life's work to live a life that reminds other people they can do whatever they want. These are the benefits of free will. And yes, free will is a burden sometimes too. But you know, it's better, I think, as I said in previous video, like, to have the power and get to decide what to do with it than to not have the power at all and wish you did. So, yeah, I think Fredrik really reminded me of like, I can use art both as a tool for recovering for what's happening around me and as a tool to express and create the worlds that are in my imagination that are not catalyzed necessarily by what other people do, but rather by what I like and what I'm interested in. So the book resonated with me heavily on a like personal like artist tip, but then there's also this friendship angle that got me. Like, first of all, I love my friends and they're like family at this point, and so many of my friends know each other and they're friends, so it gives family reunion every time we see each other. And yeah, I feel like also being queer, having like chosen family is a big part of a lot of people's queer experience. And art, I feel like countercultures need support and they need community. And I think art is similar. And so he has this quote in the book where he's like, let me see. You're an artist if you create something. You're an artist if you don't see the world the way it is. If you hate white walls. No one else decides what art is. No one can stop you loving whatever you like. The cynics and critics can have control of all the other crap on the planet, but they can't decide how hard your heart beats. Become whatever you want, but don't become one of them. Art is a fragile enough light as it is. It can be blown out by a single sigh. Art needs friends, with our bodies against the wind and our hands cupped around the flame until it's strong enough to burn brightly on its own. What? That is like, it is so profound and yet so simple. But like, literally, don't become one of them. I'm sorry. I'm like, cynicism in this era of my life, I really have like low energy intolerance for it, because it's really like, babe, I have to be in alignment with my light in order to make the things I'm trying to make. So literally, I don't want to hear the drama because it's keeping me from my best work. Like, that's really where I'm at. I will say, during the time that I was reading My Friends, I feel like there were so many synchronicities that just reminded me how special it was that I was reading the book in the moment that I was reading it in. And so I ended up gifting a copy to my wife because that is how deeply moving it was for me and how much I felt like I need her to read this so that she can better understand me and what my experience as an artist is. And so that was really like a part of why I made sure that was one of the gifts I got her for Christmas, because I really felt like it captured so much of my experience being an artist. And I'm like, I haven't necessarily been able to put words to the experience in the way that the book does. And so I'm like, yes, let me have someone else explain to her what I've been going through as a way for her to like just understand me on a deeper level and for us to be able to talk about the book because it moved me so much. I'm like, how could I not talk to my favorite person about this book that I loved so much? And so, yeah, I gifted her a copy. She's ended up gifting a copy. And what's also funny is like, somewhere along there, as we were talking about it, she's like, oh, you should make a video about your experience with the book. And I'm like, it's funny you say that because I had like a fleeting thought of making a video about my experience reading the book. And then I kind of moved on. But her bringing it back to me was like, okay, maybe I should do this. And this, my friends, is exactly why art needs friends, because I probably would have just moved on and like made some other videos and like there's a bajillion things on my to-do list. This video might not have existed without my favorite and best friend, my wife, saying that I should make a video. I don't know why she would think you, hopefully, wanted to see this or hear about this book, but she did. And yeah, it really just goes back to like having those people around you who believe in you and care about your perspective and what you have to say, even when you don't. And that is exactly why art needs friends. And so I was like, yes, this is such a like meta moment that represents exactly what the book is about, and just having those people around you who will see you and push you and be catalysts for things that you never imagined. And so I was like, wait, let me make sure everyone knows just how deep this hit me. I bought a physical copy of the book. I read on Kindle, but my wife reads physical books. And so I was like, yep, I'm going to the bookstore. I'm buying her this book. And I love that I actually accomplished that because she read it. Spoiler, she gave it 5 stars. And yeah, her reaction was so funny. She called me while I was in the gym and she had just finished reading the book. And I'm like, waiting with bated breath to know what the review was. So she's like, begrudgingly, basically, she gave it 5 stars because why was everybody so profound? And that is quite an interesting thing to be annoyed with the book about. But there are definitely worse complaints, and I don't disagree. Everyone was profound, but I didn't even dig into it, I think, in the way that she did. But yeah, it was really cool just to be able to talk about it. I keep saying I'm gonna go back and read the tabs that she marked, and I have 38 highlights from the book during my time reading. Like, that's how much it really hit me. But all that to say, art needs friends. And when you're out there seeing something that reminds you of your friend or something they should be doing, make sure you let them know because we really need each other in that way and need people who will remind us of our power and our impact and the amazingness that we can bring to the world when we're tuned in and aligned with each other and with ourselves. They're like, I probably wouldn't have viewed art as a career if people hadn't commented on my early sketches, and just thinking about the support of my wife and my friends and like even folks just being like, oh, I need a sticker. I'm like, why do you want a sticker of this? Like, I don't know, but those people noticing that kind of stuff and commenting on it and having a bigger vision for what I can do than I might have at any given moment is what really stands out to me. And like painting wasn't even on my radar yet. And people were asking for like drawings. And so I'm like, if I was not pushed or inspired by those people to like keep going, how much longer would I have ever discovered painting? Because in my mind, painting was just like, oh, you're going way too far down the artist rabbit hole. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to feed yourself. And I'm figuring that part out. But ultimately, it is the support of the people around me who believe in this future that does not yet exist and feel like my pursuing it is a worthy cause. And like, I'm actually doing myself and others a disservice if I don't answer the call. So I'm answering the call. And the book was just a nice reminder to appreciate those people and also to appreciate my craft and keep showing up to it and don't become cynical, which, as a person who's like really into politics, I'm starting to back away because I think that is like, it doesn't help. And it definitely makes me feel very doom and gloom about the world. But like, I'm still here. So I feel like I have to make the most of it. And so if I'm going to do that, I don't want to bleep and moan the whole time. Like, I don't want to. And I don't want to hear it either. So that is why we need friends. We need lightness. We need tenderness. And I feel like the book just continued to make that clear both in the plot and in the way that the different characters spoke about art. And that just like, it was truly the breath of fresh air I did not know I needed. And maybe you didn't know you needed either. And that's why I'm here to tell you, you should read the book. And on a somewhat related tangent, it's like we are existing in a time in the US, especially, where art and things related to it and culture are being defunded, underfunded, etc. And people are censoring what can and can't be in certain public spaces or in museums. And, you know, I have so many thoughts about that and how everyone's like, this is a meritocracy. And it's like, is it a meritocracy if only certain kinds of things can be in places? But I digress. Nevertheless, if people are trying to reduce the impact of art on culture, there's never been a better time. Actually, there probably have been better times. Plenty of other times in history and culture where people have underestimated art or underfunded it because they didn't like the messages. So that's not accurate. But this too is a good time for art to have friends because artists need support and resources. And like, if you're an emerging artist, especially, getting into it and getting started is super expensive, and there's no like blueprint for how to do it. So you're also kind of figuring it out as you go, which who has the resources to kind of front that, like, just figuring it out. People just figure it out. They don't necessarily come into like, oh, I'm ready for this. I've been saving up to be a full-time artist my whole life. Like, then they probably would have been a full-time artist already. So, yeah. My friends are the ones who help me believe in my magic when the world or my brain tell me to play small. And they also keep me going. They don't just acknowledge my light, they encourage me to shine brighter. And my friends are the ones who help me see the value in my presence and what I make. They help me appreciate my unique perspective and really realize that my sensitivity and big feelings are my superpowers. And it's also what I have in common with a number of my friends. So, yeah, and the book really just served as a reminder that we're only here for a short time. And I think the impact is reason enough to read the book. But if you need one more push, I'll leave you with this quote. Because the human body is so tough, but so soft, we're a lethal animal, yet completely unprotected. Fists and elbows can break ribs and crush jaws. One blow to the temple can mean the end. One single unguarded moment can extinguish a brain. One single really hard blow is enough. We think we're so big, but we're small, fragile, pathetic. That timer was small, fragile, and pathetic anyway. No matter how big our egos are, we're just humans and we're quite vulnerable. And I feel like as artists, we choose to put that vulnerability into projects. And that courage deserves support and friendship because it's really a reminder of the tenderness that exists in all of us. So, read my friends if you want to be reminded that it's okay to be tender and it's okay to need people because art nor the world need more cynics. We don't need more cynics. We need more friends. All right, y'all. That's all I got for now. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment if you think you'll read it. If you read it already, I would love to know what you thought. And check out my other videos. I have like studio tours and painting videos that are mostly me talking while painting, but not talking about the painting. But yeah, artsy things and more to come. So thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye.